Hey everyone, this is Todd Latourie from Queensryche.
And they expect like 1 million people.
There's so much music, like just the second half, it's just about twice as thick as the first half.
What an introduction.
Yeah, it's nice to keep it fresh, otherwise it gets stale.
Very sad. Sad I can't have both.
That is a fabulous question.
When people see that, I hope they'll realize that.
안녕하세요, 로리파츠입니다.
I still have degrees, I swear.
And you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Hi, we're Capra. We're from Lafayette, Louisiana, and you're watching Eclectic Arts.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, the 13th of September, 2023. And before we get started, I'd like to thank 2D Cat and Hazel for joining me. That was last Friday. There's a lot of laughter involved with that live stream. And clearly those two have a chemistry as they're working on their music and also just personality-wise. So that was a great chance to learn more about 2D Cat's synth pop music that he's been doing. He's also been involved in the underground, like industrial scene for many, many years, which I didn't know. So I learned a lot from that interview. And speaking of which, coming up in terms of what I have going on, if you're interested in the interview that I have today, you should definitely come back tomorrow at noon Pacific, because I have Jeremy from Capra scheduled to join me. And that'll be fun because I have not done a one-on-one with Jeremy. So I'm really looking forward to talk to him, the drummer of the band. And also next, let's see, let me get this date right. Next Tuesday, the 19th at 1 p.m. Pacific. I've mentioned this before. This interview has been pending since May, and now we're in the middle of September. But I'm really glad that I kind of stuck in there because there's an all-female band. They're kind of known in terms of being the very first all-female band that was signed to a major label deal as a rock band, and this is back in the 60s, and they're called Fanny, and it's June. Millington is the guitarist and co-founder that will be joining me. So I've been running and talk to them. They have a wonderful documentary out about the band and their whole history. I did not know who they were. I had never even heard their name before, and they can play. And it's just interesting to see all the way back in the 60s what they were doing, and they just kind of went underneath the radar. And so that just kind of follows their entire career. And she's an accomplished guitarist. I'm just finished up a multitude of workshops this summer for students. And so I'm really looking forward to talking to her on Tuesday. And I'm actually in the midst of scheduling another live stream interview right now before I went live here with actor David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier films. He was also in a film last year called The Mean One, and we'll be hopefully talking about that as we're kind of going back and forth trying to find the day and time, which will be probably next week. So if you want to know more about what I have going on, please follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post all of this information, which is actually confirmed. And then some of it migrates over to other social media platforms. If this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, I'd appreciate that. All right, so let's get to things. My guest today first joined me back in 2021. I then met her in person in 2022 when the band came to town. And here we are in 2023. Her band Capra has a new album coming out on October 6th called Errors, courtesy of Blacklight Media, Metal Blade Records. It is my great pleasure to welcome back to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, Crow Lotus. Hi, Crow. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Again, thank you so much for coming back. It's nice to see you again, and I'm looking forward to talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah. I consider you to be a friend now, so it's always nice to be able to touch base and talk about life.
Yeah, no, I tell people all the time, it's nice when you get a chance to not only do a virtual interview, but actually meet that person in person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so the newness is gone. You kind of know what each other's stories are and how things went and their vibe and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like sometimes if I do a live stream and a band comes to town and maybe the interview was kind of weird or something, I don't
Oh,
then I don't go. But
yeah.
yeah, you guys, if I remember right, I was finishing up a film festival that Sunday, so I had to like take a break from that, go drive to Seattle, which I wanted to do, obviously, see you guys play, meet you guys, and then I had to come back here and finish up that report.
Oh, sheesh. Yeah, we were all stoked to be able to meet you in person for sure. But that was also like a great show. Well, the stage was very small, but that tour was like really, really fun and really cool. That was like the Horse and Bummer tour, which like we didn't know at the time, but was going to be Bummer's last tour. So like what an honor to be able to be involved with that because they were just an incredible band. Incredible, really. And Horace was fun too, of course.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I remember I didn't get a chance to see the rest of the rest of that bill.
Oh, you didn't. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I actually remember this T-shirt that I'm wearing. I bought a T-shirt from you at the merch table, and you're like, "You can't stay." I was like, "No, I got to go back and write my whole."
Oh, I forgot about that. What a shame. Yeah, but
Yeah, but yeah,
you're a busy guy.
yeah, but I wasn't gonna miss you guys.
Yeah, I'm so happy you were able to make it.
Yeah, it was really fun. I still remember texting with Tyler about. I think Horrors was late. I think they got caught in traffic or something, so they couldn't.
Oh, sheesh.
Yeah, they couldn't set up yet, so it was kind of delaying everything, and fans were outside, and he's like, Mark, once everything's in there, then we'll figure this out. I'm like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I know how this kind of stuff works.
Right, you're used to it. Yeah, it's not your first rodeo.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So it's just like you just take it as it comes.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's actually a good segue because when I saw you in 2022, you guys had at least one new song in the set at that time.
Okay. Oh wow, I didn't realize we were already doing that.
Yeah, because I remember Tyler had asked me what I thought of. It may have even been two songs, if I remember right.
I think so. Yeah, if I had to guess, it was probably tied up in CHSF. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with this new album coming out, Errors, on October 6th, how did you guys have some songs that were already like that they've been done for a year, and then you wrote some new ones, or like a lot of them kind of were back here until you kind of had time to record them?
So we wrote Tied Up in CHSF at the same time as like In Transmission, basically. And we just were like, this is not right for that album. So we decided to just kind of hang on to it for a little bit. But I'm happy we did because I feel like it fits really well with this album. And so they're kind of like a little bit more maybe near and dear to our hearts just because we've had them for so long, I guess.
Okay, so those songs have been with the band for a while, as you just said, and
Right.
then with the other 8 songs, did those kind of get written later, or some of those also from back in the day, kind of a period?
Yeah, so usually we'll work on like a few songs at a time kind of thing. So I usually write everything at once, like within the course of like a few weeks. But as far as like the instrumentation for it, they start basically working on maybe or really focusing on maybe like 3 or 4 songs at a time. And so like they just start adding whenever one's finished, they like add another one and start working on that a little bit more. So it's kind of like this grand transition from song to song over the course of like a year or so, maybe.
Okay, interesting. So since you tend to work like you said, in a week or two, kind of working through the lyrics and everything, so are you basically waiting for those songs to be done and given to you, and then okay, now I'm going to work on these 8 to 10?
Yeah, well, actually, I say that, but so obviously, Tied Up in CHSF, like we wrote that one early, so it was done. But I will say sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, can you like maybe get lyrics for this one just so we can see how it sounds?" So usually, what happens is I say everything over the course of a week, but that's not true. That was just how we did the first album. But for this album, it was a little bit different because I did. I guess it would be like 2 songs one week, and then like a few weeks later I did a few more. So really I totally just lied to you. But for the first album, I think it's because I joined a little bit later that I wrote everything within a week or two. But now that I'm thinking about it, this album I did like 2 or 3 songs one week, and then it was like maybe the next couple of weeks I wrote the next like few songs or something like that. But yeah, I for whatever reason it's easier for me to kind of do it all at once just because when I get in a writing mindset, I usually just want to keep doing it then. And sometimes if I'm not like feeling particularly inspired, it's hard for me to like do it on command, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like I usually have to be in a particular kind of mood.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I think almost any artistic minded person out there can relate to what you said, because sometimes
Right.
trying to force creativity, with especially with a deadline or something, it's like
Mhm.
it's like probably one of the toughest tasks to do as an artist.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, I've talked about this on some other live streams many years ago when I worked at a computer company as an audio engineer. That's where I got the first taste of that. I was
Right.
every project that came through had to have some level of sound on it. So like, Mark, we've got this due date, this due date, this due date, and then sometimes something would get pushed up. So like, I thought I had 3 days. No, you got 3 hours.
Yeah.
Get creative right now.
Figure something out. Like, ugh.
Yeah, and it would just make my head hurt.
Yeah.
So no, I understand, like when things are flowing, then you want to, what, give me some more songs, because it's kind of working right now, and I want to get the lyrics out and everything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because and sometimes you never know when inspiration is going to strike either. So it's like, I want to at least have that stuff available so I can start working on it. And you know what, it's not quite working today, but maybe tomorrow it will. But once that floodgate opens, it's like you just keep on riding that wave.
Definitely. Yeah. 100%.
Wow. Okay. And there's certain songs I definitely want to talk about, but overall, what are you tackling lyrically on this new album?
So this album is a little bit, I would say that I felt a little bit more, I guess, comfortable talking about certain things that I didn't feel comfortable to talk about on the last album. So it's a lot more, I guess, a lot more depressive. A lot of the lyrics have this kind of energy of being a little bit more hopeless than, I guess, the last album. So I think maybe for some people that are sensitive to that, I don't know if they're gonna love it. But I think it was just a matter of like me not being afraid to really like. I think for the last album, it's kind of hard to explain, but for the last album, I think it was like I felt like I had this duty to kind of like make everybody feel like it was always going to be okay all the time, and it was always going to have like this kind of like happy ending and whatever. But I think for this album, a lot more of the lyrics are kind of just like, I'm not doing so well. And, maybe it's okay to talk about that. And it's okay for other people to see that I don't always have things together all the time. And thankfully right now in my life, things are great and things have been going really well. So it's not necessarily a reflection of who I am today, but at the time I was writing it, I was definitely going through some stuff. And I think also I allowed myself, a lot of the songs are kind of almost personal letters to people that I've had fallings out with. So it's kind of like I guess I allowed myself to be angry at people that I was never allowing myself to be angry at in the past, kind of thing.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think we kind of shared that in common, where at least for me, I've always tried to present myself a certain way. And even if I was completely pissed at somebody, I'm like, I didn't want to waste that energy on them.
Yeah, like, no, it's cool. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it's not fine.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you
Yeah.
actually have to let loose to kind of move forward past it, get it out of your system.
Absolutely.
And that's been a lesson for me, because most people that know me in real life, and you've met me, I'm pretty laid back. I'm just kind of go with the flow kind of thing. But definitely,
Right.
I get pissed. I do get upset
yeah.
about things. Everybody does.
Right.
And with the former piece that you were talking about things that you may have been going through or wrestling with, I think we actually touched on this 2 years ago a little bit, with anxiety or depression or things of that nature. Sure. No one can tell you when you want to express that, because I suffer from the same things. So it's only come out in my live streams a little bit in the last 2 or 3 years since I've been doing this kind of thing. But in person, it's definitely come out more, especially if someone's talking about something they're going through and say, well, hey, I can relate to that because blah, blah, blah has happened to me.
For sure.
And so I think when people are going to be reading your lyrics and hearing the songs, especially those that are wrestling with the same type of issues, they're going to be like, they're going to be even more ingrained to them in terms of, she's going through things at times, just like I'm going through these things at times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it takes a lot of strength to actually get to a point where you feel comfortable enough to, put that out to the world.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, talk with other people, it's kind of like I actually have that poster here, my Hellraiser poster. It reminds me of like, the character of like Julie or whatever, when there's no skin on you and just the slightest thing can just like touch you everywhere and you just feel it. And when you put out those kind of things that are so personal to you as a person, as an artist, it's like, Well, I hope this is no, this is how I feel, and I'm proud of it. But if someone starts to like pick at it or something like that, it's just like, dude, I am a person, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to ignore you, but it's still gonna bug me that you have an
Yeah.
issue with it. So
Right. Absolutely.
I was funny enough. I was just talking to somebody last night at a show that I was at, a musical, and we were talking about the same thing about how people can't just try to like take the high road or just not say anything at all
Yeah.
these days. But it's like, there's another band which I'm not going to mention that I'm a huge fan of, and they just had an appearance on TV last night. So, oh my God, the toxicity from the fan base that hated that appearance. I'm like,
Yeah.
just don't say anything. I mean,
Oh, it's like some people just can't help themselves. It's actually makes you wonder, like, and I try not to put too much like merit toward it either, because when you start putting merit toward it, then you start believing it. But it's just like, what's going on, in your life that you just feel so bitter all the time? That's not okay. I don't know. That's just not okay. And then actually, Mario Infantis from Cult of Lilith. Sorry, I don't want to say Cult of Luna. Cult of Lilith was saying, and it's something that I have not forgotten. It's during like this interview that we had done together, where he said like you should only like care about the opinions of people you respect. And I was like, that is so like poignant and so important. And it's something that we really don't like consider that the importance of that is like, why are you so concerned about these opinions of people that that you wouldn't otherwise ask for advice from? If it's not somebody that you would go to like for help with an issue, or somebody whose opinion that you really like put value towards, then why are you letting it affect you? And I know that's obviously so much easier said than done, but it is definitely something that I consider now before I allow myself to be hurt by things like that.
yeah, no, that's really well said, because that's something I used to tell my students. I used to tell them half of that, which was I care about people's opinions that I respect and people that I care about, and a lot of times they're in the same category. So if you don't somehow fit into one of those, then it's kind of like you can spout off whatever you want because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you said, easier said than done too at times.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, you can definitely like in theory, it's such a great concept, but at the same time, how often do you actually apply it to your life?
Yeah, it's constantly a test. But I wanted, for me, because I did get a chance to listen to the entire album.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was listening to all the songs, and I think probably for most people, the one song that's really going to jump out is Nora.
Yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed with that song. It's like,
Oh, really?
yeah, there's so many different things going on with that tune, so many different layers to it. Can you just kind of give me some background on that particular song, because it's amazing?
Yeah, actually, so that song I wrote the lyrics for in the studio like 10 minutes before we recorded it, and I had no idea what we were gonna do because they just said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't write anything. Don't write anything. It'll be okay. It'll be really short." And then when I heard the song, I was like, "It's not that short, actually. I don't know why you didn't want me to write anything, because now I'm put on the spot." But I was like, well, and of course, it's my tendency to always have a happy ending, I guess. Like that song is kind of like so different, like such a stark contrast from everything else on the album, because everything else is just kind of hopeless and like angry or just bitter about like just everything in general. And this song is it's like a little spark of hope, I guess. And it's also something so vastly different from anything I've ever done on vocals. I've never done anything to spoken word or clean like that, at least never recorded something like that. And so it was definitely something that felt a little bit more vulnerable for me to do. But I am happy. I think it paid off to like try something different.
Yeah, no, it absolutely paid off. I mean, again, for fans out there, when you get a chance to hear the album fully on October 6th, you'll hear what we're talking about. That particular tune is just it's really like it's in its own category for the band.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so yeah, it's an amazing track, and the fact that you wrote your lyrics like 10 minutes before you were going to record is kind of mind blowing to me.
It was mind blowing to me too. I was like, what in the world is going on right now?
Well, it all came out. It all came together beautifully.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, on that particular tune, and it is interesting because it almost reminds me. It's a little cinematic in the way it's presented. That especially in the track listing, that's the last song, so it kind of makes you wonder. So what's coming next?
Yeah, true.
Kind of leaves you wanting more. Oh no! Now the credits roll, so you don't get to see what happens next.
Right.
And the next thing.
Right. Yeah, it's when Tommy Jarvis is at the end of which one is it? Friday the 13th, 4 or 5, whenever he's the little kid and he's like making the eyes at the camera. It's like, oh God, what's gonna happen in the next movie?
Exactly.
Sorry, yeah, I can't. That's totally random, but
no, I love that series of films.
Yeah, I just went to. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just went to a horror convention that was in my state, and the actor for the older Tommy Jarvis, Tom Finley or something. I don't remember his name, but he was there, and so that's why it's been on my mind a little bit more. But of course, I'm talking about the younger version played by Corey Feldman, and
right.
Yeah,
that was number 4 if I remember right when that character got introduced.
I believe so.
Yeah, right. Because. I can't reach it, but I have. I think he's no longer with us, but the gentleman that played was it Ted White? No, not Ted White. Ted something. I'm so sorry, but he played Jason in that film, and number 4, if I remember right. And he had been a stunt double for like John Wayne and all these huge like classic actors. Yeah, so getting a chance to talk to him, and I just remember shaking his hand, and he like crushed my hand, and he must have been. And he must have been like 72 at the time or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I can't imagine what you're like when you're 30 or whatever.
Yeah. In peak physical form. Yeah. There was also the Jason from like the Friday the 13th 6 was there too, which was cool. He was like massive. So.
Oh, was that CJ?
Yeah. Yeah. CJ. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah. Cause he's been here at Crypticon Seattle before.
Oh, cool. Yeah. He was super cool. Super nice guy.
Yeah, he was, and he did a panel with David Howard Thornton at the time because Terrifier.
That's so cool. I've been wanting to catch him at something, but it's just I haven't had the ability to take off a weekend to go see him. But
yeah, well, I don't know if we're getting so far off tangent.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
As is classic.
No, that's what people like it, I guess. I first messaged David. Right, because I had gotten an advanced screener link for Terrifier 2 back in October of last year, like right before October. And so I messaged him about, hey, when you want to come on and talk about this? And he kind of remembered me from Crypticon Seattle. And he said, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. And that's right when that movie was going to go into the theaters for that little supposed short run. And then it kind of blew up and it kept doing another week and another week and another week. And his schedule went like out the window.
Wow.
But he was so polite because anytime I would kind of check in with him every couple of weeks, he'd always get back to me and kind of explain what's going on. He didn't have to do that. He could have said, no, I don't have time.
Yeah, for sure. What a guy. That's cool.
Yeah, he was trying to hang in there. So like I mentioned at the beginning of my intro, hopefully I'm actually going to be able to talk to him virtually probably next week.
That'd be so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, folks, if you're horror fans, obviously Crow and I are. So that's what we're talking about that. That actually kind of brings up an interesting point. Have you ever been influenced by any kind of horror things in terms of what you wrote lyrically?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that probably it's kind of tough at this point to separate like the two, like horror and my life, because my life is like honestly like 80% horror. So not saying like the things I've experienced, but well, some of them, but I like everything I consume essentially is horror based in some way, almost like really only the series that I watch, the movies that I watch, the video games I play, everything is basically horror, just because that's always been my favorite thing since I was like a child. So yeah, I would say that maybe not necessarily, sorry, my jaw is just killing me today, but not necessarily is it like directly, like I don't really write anything directly, I guess, about like horror movies or anything like that, but it is just such a huge part of my life that you'd be hard pressed to find, it basically covers or colors everything I do in some way.
Okay, and that makes sense. I was kind of thinking, like, especially when you're talking about that, this album is like darker and grittier, that maybe you kind of pulled from the feelings of a certain film that kind of help you write a certain line or something, not like a whole song or anything.
Oh, you know what's funny is you say that, but actually, so Dario Argento is my favorite director, basically, of horror, or kind of like of all time. Well, of horror, let's put it at that. But I actually wanted the video for Medusa to be, it just got, you know, things are always supposed to be a certain way and they just don't end up going that way. But I wanted it to be inspired by like, or it was supposed to be inspired by Tenebrae, which is one of my favorite Argento films. And I wanted it to be like a slasher video where my bandmates slowly get killed off one by one, which they do technically in the music, but in the video that we have for Medusa. And I wanted it to be like at the end of the video, you see like me in third person and you're thinking, okay, well, she's about to die because everybody else did. But then at the end, it ends up being me. I'm like the killer all along. Just, I don't know. I just thought that'd be like total Argento twist. And then it ended up just being like something totally different. Like we end up killing ourselves or something, or we end up like it's a clone of ourselves, like killing ourselves or something in the video. Like Medusa, I don't know. You'd have to watch it. I'm not like, it's like cool or whatever, but it wasn't what I expected it to be. But everybody who worked on it did a good job. So yeah, it was just a little bit different than it was supposed to be.
Okay, well, but like you're saying, there's that that horror influence, since it's a part of your life, that it kind
right.
of like, boy, if we could do this with this music video, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, how something starts and how something ends sometimes are a little bit different. So
right, yeah,
just kind of happens that way.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I've had the pleasure of talking to enough movie directors and actors and all that. Almost every single one says that. They'll say, we had this script, we had this plan, then we lost locations, our budget got slashed, and so then we had to fix things on the fly, and that's not how it was supposed to end, but that's what we went with. So,
yeah, we had to figure it out. Yeah,
and it's pretty much like almost any independent film of any genre, not just like horror, but like could be dramas and comedies.
Yeah,
same type of thing happens. Is like, oh, we had our lead actor for 3 weeks, and then they had to go to the next project, and then we were delayed, so then we lost them, so then we had to figure out what are we going to do.
Yeah.
And can we get them back for reshoots? Oh, we don't have a budget for reshoots. So it just, you do what you can.
Yeah, just got to figure it out.
Yeah. Another song that stood out to me, and it'll be interesting talking to Jeremy tomorrow, is Kingslayer.
Right.
It has the drum part that starts that song off, and then it kind of goes in an interesting direction. What can you tell me about that particular tune?
I will say that many people, like almost every person that we've kind of like done like a track by track or something similar with, has always pointed that song out specifically, which kind of blows my mind because I really didn't expect that to be like a favorite at all. Because it's not that I don't like it, but it's not one of my favorites. So I was kind of like, what? I really was shocked by it. But I think maybe just because my the vocal style is a little bit different. So maybe I was just feeling a little like not, maybe just a little insecure about it. Like I didn't know if I was really prepared to hear myself sounding that way. But I do think it paid off. And I think that like the way I wrote it was a little bit different as far as like, it's a lot like shorter, to the point, kind of like more direct lines, rather than like kind of this long like story that I would normally do. So yeah, it definitely was something that I was like, I'm not sure if I like that, but looking back on it, I think it sounds cool. And it's definitely, I would say, different from anything else on the album, both lyrically and instrumentally, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, and maybe that's me, and maybe that's why some of these songs kind of stick out to me, because there's something a little bit different than, not that I don't like the other songs, but it's just like, wow,
yeah.
There's another layer to these that I'm like, oh, what was that? Let me check that out again.
Can't help but notice that it's got something special to it, a little juice.
Yeah, and I can honestly say what's really nice about this upcoming album, for fans, you get to hear it on October 6th, is that it really kind of, if you love Capra, you're still going to love this album. And these changes that I'm talking about, they're not major changes, but there's enough things in there that has grown. The band has grown to a little, because sometimes bands put out another record and it's either the production or the songwriting or whatever. It's like, okay, this is cool and everything, but I don't hear them like pushing up. This pushed up, so I think it's just gonna make you that much yeah, you'll be that much bigger.
Yeah, I appreciate that you. I feel the same about it, really. I'm sure everybody says that, but I'm happy that I feel like we're a little bit closer to where I originally hoped we would sound. And I like the first album, but I do feel like you can hear, in my opinion, a little bit of growth. And I think that my vocals got better. The last album, I kind of just went into it blind, not really maybe knowing what I was doing. And this one, I felt a lot more confident, like with my technique, I guess.
Yeah, no, it shows. Again, it's just like you had in transmission, and then this one's kind of like this other layer, and then maybe the third one will be even like more so. And part of that's also you guys being a unit too, and playing all these live shows.
Definitely, yeah.
And we'll definitely touch on that too. Well, I mean, we'll touch on it now. You just did a lengthy tour in Europe.
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Because that's got to be really exhilarating, probably also exhausting at the same time.
Yeah, actually it was way less exhausting than I thought. I was like totally scared because I was like, I've never been out of the country, so here I am going to a different country for the first time, and then being there for like a month. Like that's crazy, you know. And I didn't know what to expect at all. And actually, we all got along like really, really well the entire time. Which is like, you know, not to say that we're always fighting, but everybody's got issues. You know, everybody that spends that much time together gets tense. But I mean, it was great. Everybody was able to communicate really well. And also we got way more sleep than I thought. Europe is very different for anybody that doesn't know, as far as like touring, the experience is extremely different. So for like, for the States, if you show up to a venue and they have food for you, at least at the level that we're playing, it's like shocking. Like even if they ordered you a pizza, it's like, wow, that's awesome. Like, thank you so much. You know, in Europe, every single venue has dinner for you. Every single venue has like a hotel, like, or like some band apartment that you can stay in, lined up. So it's kind of like the hospitality is like really, really cool. Not to like bash on in the States. Like I love touring because, it's a lot more people that we know and stuff like that. And then also just the music scene here is really like, there's just so much history behind it. But just as far as like the hospitality in Europe was amazing, like unmatched. And we really, really had a great time. And then we had like a lot of really cool festivals that we were able to play. And going to like a festival in Europe, I don't know if you've ever like gone to a metal festival in Europe or anything like that, but it was like, this is like really cool. Like these people, like you can tell these are people that just spend the entire year traveling for festivals. And it was just like a really, really cool experience to be a part of it.
You know, it sounds amazing. I have not been to a metal festival in Europe. I have a couple of friends that live in the Netherlands. They keep trying to get me over there.
Nice. Yeah.
So like, Mark, you have a place to stay. We'll take care of everything. We'll get you over there.
Oh, you love it.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be one of those things like it's like a bucket list thing for me at some point.
Right.
Get my ass over there.
Hellfest is the one that everybody always wants to go to. I'd love to go to Hell. I mean, we'd love to play it, but you know, we'll see.
What is that? That's the one in France, right?
Yes, I don't remember the name of the city, but that's like one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Because I've got a couple of friends in France too. So, and actually, one of them was just here in Seattle. So I'm like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if she's in the metal, but I can let her know that.
Yeah, give her a heads up. There's also Vakken. I don't remember exactly where that is, but that one is like huge too. We didn't play that one or go to that one or anything, but that one actually got rained out this year.
Right, that's right, because they had that. I saw those posts when they're talking about if you're coming to the festival, and they were talking about the weather and what it was doing to everything.
Yeah,
over there. So, but yeah,
right.
that would be amazing. And I was thinking about something we had talked about 2 years ago. How is your voice holding up doing all these shows and all this touring? Because it's more than you probably have ever done, really.
It's so much better. At the time, I didn't really have like any kind of a technique, honestly, and that's kind of like shameful to admit, but I think that admitting is the first step toward recovery. And like I think that a lot of people who start getting into vocals totally underestimate how important it is to like warm up or to stretch even like your upper body beforehand, or hydrate, or try to get as much sleep as possible. It has like an unreal amount of impact on like how you're going to sound and how many days in a row you'll be able to do. Back whenever on that tour that you had come to see us on, which was admittedly pretty recently, I didn't have much of a warm-up technique. Like I had like a very like short, like maybe 5 minutes. It was just like ridiculous. I shouldn't have even bothered doing it at all. And I was like not being nearly as responsible with hydrating or sleeping as possible. And so I would lose my voice, probably not necessarily lose it, but I wouldn't have like as tip top a voice on like the third or fourth day. And so the last few days before like we would get a day off, I would basically just be yelling. I couldn't even scream at all because my voice would just be so exhausted. But when I started doing even just like a 15-minute warm up before shows, and then I would like do a lot of stretching of my neck and upper body and like stretching of my jaw, which is why my jaw's hurting so much because I didn't do it today. And like kind of like sticking your tongue out and making crazy faces and stuff like that. Now I'm able to like basically have my full voice until like at least like the fourth or fifth day, and then even on day 6 and 7 I can still scream. It just might not be as like strong as it was the first few days. So I really like, it's not, I lose my voice very rarely now, which is great because it's, you feel much better about your performances, but also you're in a lot less pain.
Yeah. I mean, that means that it's a win-win then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're in it for the long haul, because at some point you have to figure out something, especially as the singer. I mean, it just doesn't. The voice is so delicate; it doesn't want to take that kind of abuse, especially the kind of music you play.
Right.
And there's only been, I want to say, there's been one other person one other vocalist that I've talked to recently, who I was just like dumbfounded that he doesn't have a warm up. And I'm like,
wow.
And it's Todd Latore of Queensryche, and so he's singing all those high ass notes and stuff. I'm like, and
that's crazy.
He's singing the songs in the original key from the 80s. So I'm like, how the hell do you know? I thought he warmed up for like 30 minutes easily or something before every show. And he's like, I got a weird voice, man. And I'm like, okay. And I've interviewed him 3 times, so I know he's not lying to me. So it's like,
well, yeah, he's definitely lucky. I mean, if you consider like your voice as like any other muscle, then you think about like some people are just naturally like build muscle faster, and some people like, you know, you got to really put in the work to be able to like get the gains or whatever. And I think I'm one of those people, especially because my voice is naturally, as like a smaller woman, my voice is naturally not inclined to do things like that. So definitely for me, I got to work toward it. I really, really do. But that's incredible. That's such a fun fact to know about him, actually.
Yeah, and he's also a terrific guy too. I can definitely tell you that. You guys ever do a festival together or something like that? Yeah, he loves all kinds of music. His breadth of like,
cool.
Yeah, metal and other things. He loves some of the heaviest stuff known to man.
Yeah.
He's actually put that into some of the Queensryche songs, which some of the fans don't like. Like he'll do like a growl, like a real low growl. And first time I heard that live, I'm like, where the fuck's that coming from? And then it's something he did a high note and go, whoa, right down low. And I'm like, oh shit, okay.
I've seen them one time with it was like on a Gwar tour or something. I don't remember who. I think it was Toxic Holocaust, Queensryche, Gwar, and then I think there might have been one other band, but I can't place who it was. But yeah, it was cool. It was definitely cool. Yeah, he's got a very powerful voice for sure.
Yeah, it's like just amazing. And so speaking of which, as we kind of get close to wrapping this up, you're going back on tour, and you've got a string of dates here in the U.S. starting on Friday. So are you guys going to be doing kind of the set that you were doing in Europe, something a little bit new, trying to figure out what new songs to put in, or don't put any new stuff in, or?
It's very similar to what we did in Europe. It's just a different order. And then also we swapped out like one more older song for a newer song as well. So there's even less older songs in the set list, which it's a little bit of a bummer because I know that people who show up like expecting certain songs maybe don't get to hear what they expected, but the new songs have been received so well. So that's something that I'm like pretty hopeful about. So I think that we have a good balance now. I think it's probably a good like 60-40 of like 60-40 of like new to old. So there's still going to be some songs from the first album that people are going to be able to hear, but it is a lot from Errors. Okay.
Well, and you can't please everybody. I mean,
yeah, true. Yeah.
That's how it goes with set lists. Even when my little duo was just playing cover tunes, how come you didn't play that Journey song? How come you didn't play that? I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Put it in the set next time, and those people don't show up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's when you say, you know what, we're just going to do what we want to do, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. Maybe you have to keep coming to the other 5 shows we do. And another thing that I was thinking about is the artwork for the album. Is that something that was commissioned for this, or is that something that existed that you guys got licensed to use? Because it's really interesting art.
So basically just to start, like I just knew I wanted something like way more simple than the previous album. I didn't have a hand basically at all in the album design for the first one. And so I was like, hey, let me kind of take the reins on this one. I want something like that's a little bit more just like white. Like I was like, I want something white and just like a very more simplistic design, because I think it's a lot more eye-catching in my opinion. But also it's different from the first one, which is cool because then we have two like very different kinds of designs. So me and Trevor had kind of gotten together and we're just like, let's like create like a mock-up of what we want, and then we will commission a really good friend of ours, Nat from Holy Ghost Tabernacle Choir, to do it. And they had taken like the throat ribbing thing going on is actually from like a military, or it was very heavily inspired by like a military handbook, like tutorial on some sort of like, I guess like self-defense thing, which is like strange. It seems like a strange way to teach somebody how to rip a throat open, like is in a picture book. But so they were took inspiration from that and kind of created their own design. And then everything else was just more so their creative direction. So yeah, I think it looks really cool. I like the hand design as well on the back. I think that one is like really, really cool and eye-catching, and we're able to use that for a lot of merch as well, which I like.
Yeah, no, it definitely stands out because it looks like something you would see, at least when I first saw it. It reminds me of something you would see like in an art gallery.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
It's a stark contrast from the In Transmission cover art. So, and like I agree with you. It's the right way to go. There's something really juxtaposition of these things. It's not the same continuation of what you did on the last one. It's like, no, this is very, very, very different.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it just adds into the whole package of, the songs being elevated, songwriting kind of expanding out, performances expanding out. So everything looks really, really good. So
thank you.
October 6th, everybody, that's the big date. But and again, if you're in one of the lucky towns to see Capra starting on Friday, then you can go check them out live. Hopefully at some point, either this year or next year, you guys will make your way. I realize we're way up in the Northwest, kitty corner from you guys, but maybe we'll find a way to get back up here. I'd love to see you guys live, especially to hear some of these songs live as well.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be back. We'll definitely be back. Probably sooner than you expect, actually.
That works for me.
Yeah.
And a real weird side note, I just wanted to show you this, that we had talked about this at some point.
Yeah. That is my favorite. My favorite. That's so awesome. I love that. Yeah, I just got like, I stocked up on more. So I was like, I'm probably going to go back if they have another sale, and just like, I don't want to have to be without it. I really don't. And they only have it during Halloween.
Exactly. So Bath and Body Works, if you want to sponsor us.
Yeah. My favorite thing about it is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I always, every time I like, because now I have the body wash, the lotion, and the body spray. So I'm just like nuking myself with it. But I noticed if you smell it, it almost smells a little bit like fog juice. Do you notice that?
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if it's the same, because I know that there's like a little bit of a difference between like every like product or whatever, but especially within the lotion, it smells like the faintest hint of like almost like a Halloween store. And I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I swear at first I thought it was in my head, but I was like, no, for sure. I smell that. It smells a little bit like fog juice, a little like a Halloween store, like a roller skating rink or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to, it's funny. I have my bottle from 2 years ago, so it had different artwork on it. It had like bats on it and stuff. And
nice.
And people that know me, especially like when I was doing the model photography back in the day, the first scent, which is still my go-to scent, is from the holidays, called Winter Candy Apple.
Oh, I like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got one right over there. I can see it. And
nice.
The funny thing is that there was a model that was washing her hands like in 2007. And she's like, Mark, did you buy this? And I'm like, yeah. I said, yeah. I was all proud of myself. And she's like, I can't even get my boyfriend to go in that store with me, let alone buy anything. I'm like, he's missing out. There's all kinds of
He surely is. Yeah, it's a great experience. Well, that's one of those things that I know we're probably going on a tangent again, but It's like when you're like the amount of times you're washing your hands in a day, it's like you might as well give yourself something to be happy about, like the like cumulative 10 minutes you're going to spend a day washing your hands or whatever, however long. But it's just like a little boost of serotonin, you know, to have a good smell in your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you're talking about having the different products for vampire blood, that I've got the same thing for Winter Candy Apple. I've had
Right.
has hand sanitizer, and I've got some kind of candle. I've got some,
Yeah.
and it's just like, you know, again, if you don't like it, then you're lost, man. Because there's some awesome
Right.
at that store. So again,
Absolutely. Especially during Halloween.
right? Because I had what was it? It was a different not green ghoul, but there was a different one. It was like it was like an apple green scented Halloween thing from like 2 years ago. So I had that over here too. But so again, the band's Capra, Bath and Body Works. If you want to help sponsor their tour and sponsor something,
Can you imagine? That'd be so sick.
Yeah,
I haven't even bothered as a vocalist. I haven't even bothered reaching out or considering sponsorships or anything like that. But the rest of the guys have. I'm just like, can I get sponsored by like something completely different from what we're doing? Like just like a food, like Hamburger Helper or some shit, you know, like something totally different that has nothing to do with anything.
You know what? I think if it's like this case where it's something that you fully use yourself, you're not trying to like reach out and be like, hey, can you sponsor me? I'll start using your product. Like, no, yeah, it's just like me. I've been using it for over 10 years. So it's like, if you want to come on, I'll put a Bath and Body Works thing right up here on my screen.
Hell yeah. Just like a little icon, a little rotating logo or something.
Yeah. And you can have like the Hamburger Helper little hand or something.
Oh my God, that's different. I actually don't even eat beef. So that would be like so not even in the vein, but just for example.
Maybe you could have Twitch support you somehow, because you have your Twitch channel, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah. So I've been gaming on Twitch for all these years, and I have all this following and that kind of thing. You never know.
I'd have to work on my following for sure. I mean, my Twitch, it's not bad. It's like cool or whatever, but it's I think, I don't know. It's hard to balance sometimes, like how much time I should put into every little outlet of my life. But I love Twitch. I love streaming. I always have a good time doing it. So.
Yeah, well, and you are busy, so it's
true.
It's very understandable, and you have to have some semblance of your own personal life too. You can't just put everything out there and then you're left with nothing. Then you won't be able to tour or do new records or anything else like that, because you'll be completely just like burnt out and wanted like to have nothing to do with any of this stuff. So
absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so. Crow, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about the new album and every other tangent we went on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Anytime, just let me know. And then shoot me a message about that David Howard Thornton, not David. I'm thinking David Allen Coe. David Howard Thornton thing. I'd like to tune in for that.
Yeah, as soon as I get that solidified, I will let you know for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care down there. See you later.
Alrighty, see ya.
Bye.